a la pantalla, ¿no?
No.
Okay,
estàs a l'aire.
Okay. So començo, no?
Sí.
Okay.
Pots començar.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon in Catalonia. My name is A.E.Ramassà, and I am the head of the delegation of the government of Catalonia to the US and Canada. I'm very pleased to welcome all of you in this online event organized with the US Soccer Foundation with so much distinguished panelists and participants. The truth is that we are glad, but we are also sad. Obviously, we are glad to gather in an event so distinguished representative from the sport from both the US and Catalonia. Moreover, because we are gathering today for a noble cause. The panelists are here today because they share the same values of tolerance and equality. Probably the fact that both the US and Catalonia had been countries that had traditionally hosted people from many cultures and origins helps to this attitude and commitment. Welcome. However, we are also sad. We are sad because racism still exists in our society, and unfortunately, we have seen several episodes lately. Today's event has a very clear goal: show our commitment with equality, real equality. Equality among all human beings. Racism has absolutely no justification. We strongly believe in zero tolerance with racism. Time is over. The only acceptable place for racism is history books. Sport provides an incomparable opportunity to spread a message of equality among all human beings. According to the UN, sports are about participation, inclusion, and bringing people together by highlighting their commonalities. Tolerance, cooperation, and respect are also fostered through the positive interaction with others. Sports has even played a role in peace building and post-conflict activities, and probably some speakers will be able to elaborate about it. Among sports, soccer is nowadays the most worldwide spread sport. So in today's event, we'll have a special prominence, although the message is valid also for other sport disciplines. We will actually have some surprises, and a couple of VIP representatives of other sports will share their commitment with tolerance and equality. Stay tuned. The government of Catalonia is fully committed with equality. This 21st March, during the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, our government promoted the manifesto of the sport world against racism that gathers signatures from the main Catalan sport clubs and associations to condemn racism and intolerance and to promote social cohesion and fundamental values through the sport practice. Work in progress then. As Nelson Mandela not only stated but also put into practice, sport has the power to change the world. Since it is still necessary to change certain attitudes, we also commit ourselves today to change this world and achieve real equality among all human beings, once and for all. And we use the extraordinary tool that is sport to convey this powerful message. Thanks again to everyone who made possible this event, including all speakers, moderator, US Soccer Foundation, FC Barcelona, A.E.Ramassà, Diplocat, and of course the team of the delegation of the government of Catalonia to the US and the Department of Foreign Action of the Catalan government has been working very hard. Of course, the audience. Hope you enjoyed today's debate. Now it's my honor to give the floor to Mr. Ed FOSTER-SIMEON, US Soccer Foundation and President and CEO. Thanks very much, Ed. Without you, this event would have been impossible. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Isidre. I'm very, very pleased to be here. And as you said, it is a sad time, but it's also a hopeful time. I'm hopeful because I think we're in a moment in history where there is a great awakening about the importance of these issues. I'm going to start my remarks with a simple premise that guides our work at the U.S. Soccer Foundation. That is that sport is a powerful vehicle for social change. As you mentioned, Nelson Mandela said it best when he said, sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. He went on to say, it is more powerful than government in breaking down racial barriers. We've seen this statement come to life in recent weeks as pro athletes and leagues have used their voice to call attention to pressing racial and social issues. At the U.S. Soccer Foundation, the role that sport can play as a vehicle for social change is a part of our core belief. We believe that arguably nothing has as much potential as youth sports to drive enduring social change. Young people are our future leaders, and youth coaches are an underutilized resource in shaping their trajectory. Children come running and laughing to their coaches because they want to learn from them. Youth sports is also an undervalued contributor to social connection across racial, ethnic, and gender lines. It's a platform that brings people of varied backgrounds together for one goal: support of children. And youth sports, when combined with sports-based youth development principles, can have a positive impact on long-term health and the development of critical life skills. The bottom line is that we believe that the sports sector, pro athletes, the leagues, youth sports organizations can drive lasting social change. I'm not surprised that sport has risen to the forefront of these conversations today. And I'm excited for today's discussion because I believe as a larger sports sector, we all have an important role to play. I think it's important that today we are hearing from a variety of perspectives so that we can continue using sport to create a healthier, more equitable world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you to be here, and good morning to the audience in States. Good afternoon in Catalonia, and good day anyone. I'm A.E.Ramassà. I'm a journalist, and I started my career on broadcast as a journalist specialized on sports. But I was not only interested in the competition, but also interested in all the human values around sports. So this debate is really an opportunity for me, as well as for all the audience, to grow personally and professionally from the experience.
Aurora, please.
Yeah,
Video.
sorry.
Video.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. So I'm here again. I'm sorry. As I was saying, I'm a journalist, and I started as a journalist specialized in sports. And as I was saying, that this debate is an opportunity for me, as well for all the audience that are here, to grow personally and professionally from the experience of our 4 special leaders from Catalonia and also from the United States. We'll be here with XAVIER, who is the director of the FC Barcelona New York delegation, with Saskia Weber, who is Women's World Cup champions and it's also a former USW NT member. We will be here with Carolina Ribalta, who is communications manager of the club A.E.Ramassà Soccer Club, which is related to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and it's an ambassador of these goals and values. And we'll be also with Charlie Davis, who is former USM&T soccer club and Major League, and he has been an Olympic player also. Thank you again to all the people who are involved in the organization of this event, and also thank you to the guests and to the audience. I just want to remind you that this is an open debate, so you can send your questions and your comments from now, and we will try to answer them after the speeches. You can also write posts, and you can also communicate as much as you can the ideas you get from the experiences and the debate. May I suggest that you use the hashtag #SportsForGood, or you can use any hashtag that you can create during this morning or this afternoon in Catalonia. So let's move to our speakers. We are proud to have 4 enlightening experiences to share, and we have also the contribution from Ricky Rubio and from Araceli Segarra. They cannot be here today, but they left their testimony on a video that we will see in some minutes. As we are in a virtual world, I would really appreciate if our speakers can be conscious of time, especially careful with the time and the limit to the 5 minutes first talk that we are going to start just right now. Thank you very much and welcome everybody. I'm glad, first of all, to introduce Xavier O'Callaghan. He has been and he will always be, I would say, a very popular handball player. He won all competitions as a Football Club Barcelona handball player, and he was leader, I would say, in and outside the court. Now he is the director of Football Club Barcelona New York delegation, and we are willing to hear the experience from this global club. They say more than a club, we say more than a club. So from sports to the society integration, so from sports to inclusiveness, from sports to human values. Xavier O'Callaghan, when you want.
Thank you very much, Aurora. Thank you for having me and for this special event. Thank you to the Catalan government and to the US Soccer Foundation. I'm really proud to be part of this event and share with all of you what FC Barcelona is doing to change the mindset towards equality and against racism, women and minorities. So for us, as you said, this is a club of values. We always say that we are more than a club, and one of the big reasons to be more than a club is our values. But it's not just words, it's about facts. And I think that FC Barcelona has a couple of examples that can show up a little bit how the club is implicated or is trying to change the world and to do the world as a better place for all of us. For us, it's very important in terms of gender equality. So women discrimination, it has been an issue for a long, long time. And the club, since the last tenure of the current president, was establishing a new women's team, but a professional women's team. That means that the club, was giving the same treatment to the men's and to the women's. It's a matter of treat them in equality. And this was one of the first clubs in Spain doing that. So we have been pioneers, and other clubs are following the example. And we can say right now that the women's sport and women's soccer in Spain is increasing and developing rapidly thanks to the contribution of clubs. And we, as FC Barcelona, we are really proud of that as well. But we are not just acting in women's, we are also acting with kids all over the world. And I would like to talk a little bit about our foundation. We have a foundation from FC Barcelona acting in more than 50 countries all over the world. And we are always trying to support kids all over the world, but especially those kids who have problems. And one of the pillars of the foundation is the work that we are doing with the refugees. So we have people from all over the world having problems, traveling and leaving their home countries to look for a better future. And we as a foundation, we are trying to support them and through the sport. And as Ed Foster was saying, sport is a powerful tool to integrate people. We have a special program in all the refugees camps where we are acting, where we foster the integration of those kids that are coming and they are not feeling alone and not having the proper tools to develop themselves in a new country. So we are working very hard on that. And I will just mention as well our foundation in the US. We are acting in the US as well, in New York, together with the Department of Education. we have a program called Football Net in 16 schools in New York, and we are doing exactly the same. Through Football Net, through soccer, we are trying to foster the integration of kids from different communities, bring them together, and try to present what the sport can do. So foster the integration, create bonds, create links among kids who are very different racism, recent economic conditions, different physical conditions. So what we are doing through sport is amazing, and we can touch it. We can see the impact of our effort, and that's really important. We can talk a lot, but we need to talk. We need to do things. We need facts. And it's a little bit what our former basketball player and currently playing for the Phoenix Suns, Ricky Rubio, wants to say us. We have a video from him, and we can listen what he wants to say to us. And it's important to understand that we can talk a lot, but we need to do things. And facts are really, really important for all of us. So if we can see the video, it's going to be perfect.
So let's play the video again. So let's try to play the video again.
And I think it's time to do that in real life. Hello, this is Ricky Rubio. I play for the Phoenix Suns in NBA, and it's time. It's been enough. I think the racism has been long enough in our life, and it's time to speak up. Me, as a player in a team sport, we come from all over the world, and this is the beauty of this sport, where from all over the world you come as one and you fight for just one goal, and doesn't matter where you come from, they accept you. And I think it's time to do that in real life. And I think those values from the sport can be learned in real life. And if you see something that is wrong, speak up. I think you can teach, you can educate your friend, your child, whoever it is, to really make him play in those values. Work as one and things gonna get better. It's time.
It's time
thank you, Ricky Rubio, for the words. And I'm sorry, absolutely sorry for in all the audience because we have had some technical problems. But I think it's very interesting to have the testimony of Ricky Rubio with us. Our next testimony comes from the States. For us, it's a privilege to have with us Saskia Weber. From very, very little, she has played all sports, bodybuilding, swimming, baseball, tennis. But she was a star in soccer as a goalkeeper. She won the Women's World Championship and she was a member of the United States World National Soccer Team. She was the first professional women's soccer league in the United States. I think, Saskia, you said a long time ago, women in sports have come so far in 10 years that if we keep pushing, imagine how far it will go. But you also said, if we don't go out there and be role models, then we might take 10 steps back. Thank you, Saskia, for being here with us, for sharing your experience, and go on when you want.
Hi. Thank you, Aurora, and thank you, everybody. It's an honor for me to be here on behalf of the U.S. Soccer Foundation as an ambassador, but most of all, as an athlete and an African-American athlete. You probably look at me and know that, or say that, wow, she's had a privileged career. She's won a world championship. She's won an Olympics, stellar university career and everything like that. And I did, but it didn't go without dealing with racism and my own right and own fault, just being quiet about it. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. When I first started playing soccer and growing up in Princeton, New Jersey, I was bullied every day when I was a kid, every day, because I was half Black, my hair, everything. I had to be walked home from school. And it wasn't until I found sports and I found soccer that I found an equal ground. And that is why sports is so important, because out of everything in this world, it's where we all find a common ground, and where you're not judged on the color of your skin, or even being a woman, you're judged on your ability. So I found a common ground there, and I found a safe place, and I excelled. It was my home, to say the least. And with that, my success continued, and I made the U.S. national team. I never experienced racism on the national team. I never experienced it within soccer. I was never discriminated against on the field by coaches that I know of. But I experienced a lot of racism traveling and playing with the team, and from fans and from outside people. And what I want us to do is we need to open up dialogue with our players, with our young athletes, to find out what they're going through, because they're not going to tell you, they're not going to talk about it. And I will give you an example. We were in France with the U.S. national team, and I was there, and we had a day off, and we went into Paris. And so this is my first time in Paris, and I was walking around the streets, having a crepe and enjoying myself. And I was with two other teammates, Brianna Scurry and Thori Staple. And both of them are African-American as well. And I'm sure a lot of you, if you're soccer players, you know Brianna Scurry as well, because she was my fellow 99 world champion teammate and goalkeeper. And we were having a great time. And we walked into Yves Saint Laurent. We walked into a shop, just window shopping. And we wouldn't be waited on. We were approached by the staff. We were approached by security. We were asked what we were doing there. We were, for all intents and purposes, kicked out and asked to leave. And I never spoke of that. I never said anything about that. That was my experience in Paris. I love France, I love Paris, but that was my experience. So this is my first time. I'm with the national team. This is my first time in Paris. None of us ever spoke about it. Not Bri, not Thori, not myself. We just chalked it up and we didn't say anything. And I fast forward to this year, and with everything that's going on right now with Black Lives Matter, I got a phone call. I got reached out to by several players from the U.S. team, and most important, by the general manager now of the U.S. national team, who was my teammate, Kate Markrath, who asked me, you know, what happened to you? Did anything ever happen? And I told her that story, and I told her several others. And she asked me, why didn't you say anything? And this is where I'm getting to, is because as athletes, the most important thing is how you perform, and you don't want to be judged by the color of your skin. And so you're quiet. You don't want to add any drama. You don't want to bring attention to yourself for something other than your ability. So you internalize the racism that you're seeing, whether it's from fans, whether it's from another teammate, whether it's you don't say anything. That has to stop. And so I'm here kind of to say that we have to do this as well from the top, as well as organizations and reaching out. But we have to do this from inside as well. We, number one, as athletes, have to speak out, tell the experiences that we have, and make it okay to speak out. But number two, we have to be able and feel comfortable to do it without some sort of worry of retribution. Or I didn't say anything because I didn't want to have a target on me saying, well, you know, we bring Saskia on these trips and the next thing, you know, these problems are happening, so we're just going to leave her at home. And I told Kate that, and we started to work together to put in place what we could do for the U.S. team so that there's a forum and that there are people that they can go talk to whenever something like this happens. And there's an open communication and dialogue. And I think that for all of you coaches and everybody watching and all of you players in every sport out there, you're going to find that if you actually reach out and start talking to some of your teammates and stuff, that everybody's experienced this, but they've never said anything. And the most important thing that we do, yes, you know, we have to set up outreach programs. We have to work on grassroots. We have to be vocal. But the most important thing is that we let everybody know what we've gone through. We let everybody know that it's not okay. And we make it comfortable for children, for whomever, to actually talk about it and cry out and not feel ashamed of it and not internalize it. And so I would reach out and ask all of you to kind of have that dialogue with your children, with your fellow teammates, and say, hey, what was your experience? We've never talked about this, because we've never talked about it. And, you know, my team did that. I got phone calls from Michelle Akers, from probably 90% of my 99 World Championship team, asking me, hey, you know, Saskia, we've never talked about this. So I would implore you, I'm asking you, everybody, enough is enough. And the way we change it is to talk about it. And the way we change it is to make it okay to reach out and ask for help and say something's wrong. So I'm challenging everybody to do that. All of you. You're right. Enough is enough.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much, Saskia. You are really a role model. We follow you from Catalonia, and thanks, because the way of sharing loud your experience is also challenging for us. I think this debate today is an example of talking about that and sharing experiences in order to finish any difference that can be used in all the society, and to try to change that with people, with young people, and with child, and also with the fans in the sports fans. Thank you, Saskia. So from a player, let's move to a singular team experience that is placed in Catalonia. It's placed in Les Franqueses del Vallès, to be concrete. They are the first soccer team that becomes a non-governmental organization and lead projects always thinking in sports as an integration tool. They have developed cooperation projects in 6 African countries, and they are ambassadors of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United States. So we are pleased to receive now Carolina Ribalta, who is the communications manager of A.E.Ramassà Soccer Club, and she will share their experience with all of us in this moment. Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here today and share our experience with all the audience and the rest of the speakers. It is a real honor for us. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of our little club, A.E.Ramassà, and how we have transformed the practice of football, or soccer as you call it, into something meaningful that goes beyond sport. We were founded in 1975, but we can say that it wasn't until 2014 when we found our true mission in life. That year, after some happy coincidences, we had the opportunity to play a soccer match against the winner of the Ethiopian Premier League. I have to point out that our club plays in the 4th Catalan division, that is the lowest divisions of all. So at first, it sounded like a crazy idea, but we decided to take the opportunity and travel to Ethiopia. We would also carry with us some school and sport material to give to kids in local communities. Once we landed in Ethiopia, we soon realized the power of soccer. National TV chains were broadcasting our training sessions, and the day of the match, more than 20,000 people gathered at the stadium to see us play. Remember, we are a 4th Catalan division club and we had never played in front of so many people before. So that changed our perspective forever. The power of soccer, our passion, should be used for something bigger. So after that trip, 5 other trips to different African countries came, and also we started a work in Catalonia to spread the word and raise awareness on how soccer could promote values such as equality, social insertion, justice, and peace. We organize conferences at schools and companies where we share our experience and also encourage others to play a part. Making soccer accessible to everyone is our mission, because we've seen that through its practice, kids and young people learn to be respectful and equal. In the field, there is no color, no race, no religion or social status. In the field, everybody is equal, and the sooner kids learn this, the better. It is worth mentioning that during our trip to Uganda in 2016, we had the honor to meet Mr. Victor Ochen. He's a peace activist and founder of INET, and he is the youngest African to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. He is also a United Nations Goodwill Ambassador. He soon became interested in our solidarity missions and how we were leveraging soccer as a tool for cooperation and social inclusion. Thanks to him, we became the first soccer team in the world to be United Nations ambassadors to promote the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Again, remember that our club is formed by non-professional players. Our missions in Africa have had an impact in several local communities. For example, in Cameroon, we promoted the creation of a soccer academy where around 100 kids play soccer and study, keeping them out of the streets. Also, we are very proud to have in our own team here in Las Franquesas in Catalonia, 2 refugees that came to our country looking for political asylum, one from Colombia and another one from Sierra Leone. In close cooperation with the local Red Cross, we incorporated them as players in our team, and this has helped them in their social insertion in the community and also finding a job and housing. Now we are working hard in another project also together with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to create a female team formed by female refugees who have arrived in Catalonia looking for political asylum. This is our next goal. Because according to our experience, kids, young people, and women are the most vulnerable pieces of the chain. Educating in values and setting example is the key to a more respectful, inclusive, and peaceful society. Finally, I would like to invite you to visit our website, ramassa.com, and our social media profiles to know a bit more about our projects and how you can help us grow by being part of our initiatives. As you can see, no matter how big a club is, in order to run initiatives and get remarkable social impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Carolina. Thank you very much for sharing your experience, and I hope the courage that you just are trying to motivate everybody can be an example for other clubs to do the same. At this moment, I just would like to remember to all our audience in the States or also in Catalonia that they can do some questions to our speakers, and it could be very nice to hear the answers to these questions at the end of the speeches. So I just want to say you and to remember that you can do any commentary or other questions that you want during all the debate. Now, let's try to listen to Araceli Segarra. There's also a video with her. You know, she is the first Catalan woman to climb to the summit of Everest. And she also wants to share with all our audience today her experience in integration and all the way that sports can help for integration in people. Let's see now the video of Araceli Segarra. So I think it's not possible to see this video now. It's difficult because in the direct and also the virtual communication, it's a bit difficult. We add more difficultness with Catalonia and United States, but I think you would appreciate that this video is possible, and we will emit for you when we finish. So now we are going to listen to the experience of a famous soccer player who said, there was a famous soccer player that said, the virus of soccer. So let's say the video now. Yeah, we can? I see Araceli Segarra, but I don't know if we can listen to her. Let's try it.
Hi there, I'm Araceli Segarra. I'm an alpinist and an outdoors lover, and I've been climbing almost all my entire life. And I got a deep respect for this sport discipline, for all the things it has taught me. One is how precious, valuable, and unique life is, how to enjoy every single moment, and how to live the present without judging. Another one is that mountain doesn't make distinctions of gender or race, because a mountain doesn't change in front of people climbing, doesn't get easier or harder. In 1996, I went to Everest to climb and to film an IMAX documentary. That year there was a big storm and a few expeditions were trapped and some people died. Our crew and we climbed up to do the rescue, and it was an international team. We were from US, from Nepal, from India, from Austria, from Japan, and from Catalonia. But the point is, when you are in trouble, when you are in the middle of a storm and you see a hand coming up to help you, do you really care about the color of that hand? So then why we don't do the same every day in our home, in our family, in our jobs, in our school, in our society? Because, you know, mountains doesn't make distinction, and Mother Nature loves us all equally.
Thank you, Araceli. Thank you, Araceli Segarra, for your testimony. I think we could even hear the sound of the wind of this mountain. Araceli said mountain doesn't make any distinction. I would say nor mountain, nor pool, nor court, nor stadium. So there's only the person, the people who make distinction, and we have to finish with that distinctions. I was saying that a famous soccer player said that the virus of soccer infected me when I was a child. Maybe it's not a good sentence now in coronavirus pandemic, but I suspect it's also what happened to our next guest. He's Charlie Davies. He is a former US men's national soccer team player. He's an Olympic player, and he's an example, not only when he was a player, but also now when he is retired as a player, but his speeches and his way of talking about soccer and about the values of soccer are arriving everywhere. And it's a pleasure to have him here and listen to his explanation. Thank you, Charlie Davies, and we hear you.
Aurora, thank you. It's my absolute pleasure to speak to all of you. My passion for the game started in 1994, going to witness a World Cup match. South Korea versus Bolivia, two countries I had never heard of. But when I saw the power of unity and how everyone had this passion and how this game brought everyone from all different walks of life, I knew it was for me. And so, as a young boy, my father immigrated from Gambia in West Africa. My mother was born in the United States, to both parents from Ireland. And I've always had this inclination that football was the right sport for me because it was accepting of who I was. And I didn't have to try and be someone else. And I've had all these players to look up to, whether it was Ronaldo from Brazil or Thierry Henry or Patrick Kluivert, who also played for Barcelona. I just had all these players who looked like me, who could be themselves, and they were celebrated in the sport. Right now is a difficult time, but also a time where I think we're onto something, where we feel that people are listening to how we feel and what we've been through. Normally, I was taught as a kid to internalize everything. Don't let people show that their hate is bothering you or getting to you or going to affect you. You have to move forward. You have to move forward because time doesn't stop. And hate is something that is around the world, because racism is a global problem. It's not just the United States. And so, as a young kid, I've dealt with racism on the pitch. Where a child says, calls me the N-word or uses some derogatory statement to try and put me down because I scored a goal. And I couldn't let him show that it bothered me. So I would move on. I would play harder. I would play with this passion just to succeed. And so I've carried that with me throughout my life. Now, this year, I felt like, it was the best time to share all these experiences where I've felt racism, where I felt hate, because I understand that people want to listen and people want to cause change. They want to create change. And so for me, listen to Saskia as well. We've always felt like we're the role models. We're the example. We have to show younger kids who look like us that you can have success, that it doesn't matter that you're different, that we want to be the people you look up to, that we can power through it all. We can have this strong mentality, this mindset, but that doesn't mean it's right what we're hearing. And a lot of teammates that I've played with have dealt with locker rooms, dealt with instances where it's really bothered them on the inside, but they have refused to let it show. And so therefore, maybe some of those teammates, what they're saying, they don't know it's wrong because they're not letting them know that it's wrong. But now is the time that we voice our opinions. We voice the hurt, the pain, the frustration to cause change. And I think we, as a world, at a global level, we're really trying to take that initiative. I think for all of us to progress in the sport is such a beautiful game because it really brings everyone together. But when there are instances of racism, I think there needs to be proper sanctions, proper penalties, fees, fines, banning certain fans. We've seen time and time again when there's a player who's racially harassed from the fans, what kind of action? We see teammates trying to keep that player who's being racially abused on the field. I'd like to see teammates say, ban that fan if it's one fan, but if it's a whole stadium, if it's a whole section, walk off the pitch and help him, show your support. And I appreciate everyone here from the delegation in Spain to stand with us in the United States, to stand against racism. I'm also a firm believer that it's all about human rights and equality, whether it's racism, whether it's gay rights, whether it's anti-Semitism. We're all standing together to fight all of those battles. because we care about having a better world, having a better life for the next generation. And so I really applaud everyone here listening today, because you want to make a difference, you want to make a change, and that's where it starts, is listening and then trying to cause change with action. So I appreciate all of you. I'm a firm believer that, you know, we are on the path to, you know, a better life for everyone. So again, thank you. We just got to move forward and, you know, speak up and share your experiences. And that's really what it's about, letting people know how you feel, what's okay, what's not okay. And so if we can educate the people now and the children, we're going to have a better life. So thank you so much for having me on this chat. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to meeting you all in person.
Thank you so much, Charlie. You said you have to move forward, but we would like to move forward so fast as you do, because when you move so fast.
Thank you.
I would like that everybody could move in the same velocity when we talk against racism and other values.
I appreciate it, Aurora.
Thank you to our guests. And now, meanwhile, you are, and our audience are just sending us some questions for our guests, I would like to recover and to give the word to our delegate, Sala, Isidre Sala, just to make some points about what he has heard from now. Isidre Sala, when you want.
Thank you, Aurora. And of course, thank you very much to all the panelists. Amazing discussion, no way, it's incredible. And definitely we have learned very interesting things. If you like, maybe simple messages, but very powerful. So Mr. Ed FOSTER-SIMEON was very right when he said that it's a very hopeful time, yes. We are here, but there's a lot of other people active and moving towards the same direction. And this is really something that maybe didn't happen just a few years ago, and that's a positive issue. We've been talking a lot in this event that racism is a key problem, but we've been talking also about gender equality, which is something really part of, as another angle of the same problem. It's another angle where of inequality. So both messages are basically the same. We have to fight for the equality. And many of the examples here, many of the words we have heard are about training young people. Young people has a power to change, and young people, if they get the right messages when they are young, they will most probably perform in the right way when they are adults. And we will hopefully forget about these issues. And now we are talking right now. FC Barcelona explained us their commitment, and this is very important because the most powerful international brands, they have a responsibility in this issue, and of course help not only promoting a professional women's team, but also helping refugees to get integrated via soccer, or working together with the New York Department of Education to integrate kids from different origins must have an impact for sure, for sure. Ricky Rubio also sent us a very powerful message. We've seen these days that NBA, it's at the forefront of this fight, and it's good because in the US, of course, basketball is main sport. It's in Europe as well, and of course to see this mega start sending this message also of course works a lot. And I would like to highlight, I think the same message from different perspectives, but of both our former soccer players here, Saskia and Charlie. They have shared the same perspective. When they were young, they were somehow trained to not to internalize this kind of problems. So they couldn't show that this was affecting them, and they both have sad experiences of racism, even if they are already stars. So both of them, they agree, and I think we all agree that it's enough. It's internalizing a problem is not solving the problem. So we need to speak up. We need to react. We need to talk about it. It's time for action. Otherwise, internalizing is not helping the problem. It's just perpetuating the problem. So they're both challenging us, everybody, to go ahead. And of course, I think we need to congratulate also the effort of amateur club like A.E.Ramassà, and club with probably not many resources, but a strong will to do something, and they have achieved amazing results. Building a soccer academy in Cameroon I'm sure is not easy at all. And if you don't have many resources, it's even more difficult, but you did it. So congratulations, Carolina. And also organizing a female refugee team, it's also that it's something that really it must be a big challenge, and you're working on it. So I think we must be very happy. We must be really committed, and we will continue to do whatever we can in our hands to make this world a better place. So I think we are right when we talk with Ed to organize this event. So we are happy we can go through it, and yes, pass you the floor, Ed, probably some more of that.
Thank you so much, Isidre. It's been a fascinating conversation to me, and I also wrote down the word internalizing, athletes internalizing these very powerful feelings and reactions to the world around them. And one of my takeaways is from the past few months has been that it can't only be on the young athlete to speak out and address and make people aware of racism, sexism, gender discrimination, lack of inclusion. It is the responsibility of coaches, referees, administrators, everyone to play a role in understanding these issues and then understanding how they can affect change, positive change along those lines. To put all the weight on athletes, on young players, on young athletes to stand up and to carry the mantle. Yes, they have a powerful platform and they should use their voice when they can, but it's incumbent upon all of us at every level to play a role in changing things. Even though we've been doing a lot of work reaching children of color, inclusion, increasing inclusion, we realize we need to do even more. We need to do more. You know, we've been very intentional about the training of coaches in our programs. Goes beyond training skills and drills, technical things. It's really training coaches and educating them on the life experience of children that they're working with and how different it may be from what they are familiar with and the role that they need to play, making them sensitive to the challenges that different communities face in coming to the game, and making them understand that as a coach, as a referee, you play a role in resolving, addressing some of those questions. My biggest takeaway from all of this, though, is that it is time for action. The words this time, at this particular moment in history, the statements that are coming from not only sports leagues and teams, but from corporations, global businesses, they're more powerful and more specific than I've ever heard them in my lifetime. And that's great. But the reality is, how do you translate that into action? How do you turn that into actionable items? And that's the challenge in front of all of us today, at the corporate level, at the institutional level, as individuals. What are we going to do? What are we going to do to make things better for the future? There's no denying the scale of the problem. You know, one of the good things about technology, there's now video evidence to show when things are wrong. And so I think sport is unique because, as was shared earlier, it's a place where people come together across racial, ethnic, gender lines in pursuit of a common goal, in support of a team, in support of their children, you know, in support of their community. That is powerful. And how do we leverage that? That's the work that's ahead of us. And at the foundation, at the U.S. Soccer Foundation, we are making a commitment to double down on our efforts in this regard, to do even more than we have done in the past.
Yeah, wonderful. Definitely, this is also a question of partnerships or building alliances. You said it very exactly, with the corporate world and whomever who wish to be a part of this goal has a place here.
Yes.
Exactly. So we have heard, for example, Araceli Segarra, when she was saying that when you are climbing the Everest, you need some help from someone for sure. You cannot do it alone. So if you have a hand, you don't look at the color of this hand. You just take the hand because you need, for big goals, we need partnerships.
Yes.
And that's exactly something that I think we are trying to make at a small scale here. But yes, time for action is hopefully going to pave the way for strong partnerships to fight towards this goal. So
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we have already some questions in the audience. They are coming and coming. So we will start with a question from Laura that comes from Barcelona and says, talking about the power of sport to tackle inequality, could any one of you comment on the real impact of the recent NBA players' strike to protest against racism? Mm-hmm. Maybe some of you that are in the States could comment this strike of NBA players and explain how can contribute to the fight against racism.
Yes, I think that when professional athletes have a huge platform, people pay money. They want to see them. They want to see them perform. It is an entertainment that society values. And for too long, there was a barrier in when athletes were expected to be quiet about social issues and challenges in society. And that has changed in a big way, with athletes now saying, no, enough is enough. And we are not going to entertain solely, that we are going to speak up and stand up whenever things are wrong. And what's incredibly, I think, powerful right now is Major League Soccer, the NBA, that the leagues, the corporate entities behind them are standing behind the players in this moment, mm-hmm. which is huge. You know, that there are when money's involved, sponsorship and all, and ticket sales, there's a lot of reasons not to do things, right? Yeah. To not step up.
We have
but
some
in
questions.
this moment, the leaders, the athletes have led, and the leagues are stepping up and saying, no, we are with you.
And to add to what Ed just said, for Laura, the players took a stand because they understood that finally we're going to unify, we're going to come together and say, we're not going to play, because the ownership has the power to reach those politicians to say, mm-hmm. you have to change, you have to create change, you have to stop what's happening to the Black or people of color, the Black community in America. And so they understand that if the NBA is behind them, all the owners, the league, then they have to use their power and take the initiative to go to the politicians of the city, of the state, and say, we need to do something. We need to move together as a nation, as one, to cause positive change. And so that was the difference now, is because players feel we got to use our power together, not singular. If LeBron James sits down, people can say, oh, that's LeBron James, or that's just the Lakers. Now it's the whole league, and it's not just Black players. It's not just people of color. It's everybody. You saw Ricky Rubio. He's standing with his brother next to him. You know, as teammates, you consider yourselves brothers, no matter what color you are, no matter what beliefs or background you have. And so now we're seeing the fans, the players, and the ownership come together as one. And that is power. That is power when you talk about consolidating. And so now I think we're starting to see some movement because of that action. And it all is justified because players said, you know what, let's come together. And it's not just NBA. MLS and NBA players are working together as well, because NBA said, you know, MLS started off with their MLS's back tournament in Orlando to say, we're going to show that we're together as one. NBA said, we loved what you did. All the players said, you inspired us. So now we're going to take it up a notch. And so they took it up a notch. They protested not playing. So MLS came right back and said, hey, we're going to support you guys. We're not going to play today. And so you're just seeing kind of this trickle down effect across all sports. And it's not just the United States. We've seen the Bundesliga. We've seen English Premier League. We've seen La Liga. Players are coming together across the globe to really make a difference. And so as athletes, no matter what sport you play, you're icons. A lot of them are role models, mentors, and everyone's looking up to you because you are entertainment. You distract us from some of our struggles, our obstacles throughout daily life. You allow us to kind of be in this zone and say, wow, this is happiness. I love watching this. It brings me joy. And if they're unhappy or if they're making a statement, then I should be making a statement because I'm with them. If it's important to them, it's important to me. And so that's what we're seeing now. And I think that's the big positive change that we're now seeing, which is great.
Thank you, Charlie. This was a question that came from Laura Foraster, and she is from the Public Diplomacy Council of Catalonia. So we want also to thank her for being here into the audience and also for sharing this question for us. And you were talking about that, and there are other questions in the same field. So there's a question from Anne and the States, and she say, do you think we still don't talk enough about racism? Do you think child are still shy about that? Maybe Saskia, this question comes for you because you were talking about, you speak more and talk more about that.
I absolutely do. I think that you would be surprised. I sat with, during our lockdown, we had a Zoom call with our UCLA team, and we had an open discussion. And I think it surprised some of the teammates when our players, our African-American players, players of color, spoke out about the racism that they'd experienced on campus and that their teammates had no idea about it. And it was the first time that they had this open discussion. And whether it was, going to a party and not being let in or to a fraternity, or like I said, outside experiences that they just internalized. And the majority of the team and the coaches were surprised. They were in shock because, as I stated, it's not something you talk about. It's something that you don't know it's going on unless now you ask. And it has taken what has happened, which is a sad state of affairs, but it has taken what has happened to start this dialogue, to start the questions, to start these open communications, and to watch, 30 female soccer players that are 18 years old, to say, well, yeah, I have been going through this on campus. I have experienced this, and nobody knew, because once again, you just want to play and you want to be an athlete, and I think you grow up dealing with it. Like I've grown up dealing with it my whole life, going to buy a car and not being helped, like little things that people don't understand are but that I've understood are racist. And it's par for the course. You just internalize it. And so, yes, to answer the question is, yes, it is still there. And unless you ask, unless you open up the questions, no, it's, I think young athletes and young people, period, don't just offer the information.
So we have to fight against that.
Right, and that's where it comes from. Your adults, it comes from coaches, it comes from, you know, leaders that say, hey, let's talk about this. It's okay to talk about this. I want to know, you know. So
another question about another kind of division, and in this case it comes from Mark, and he says, I wonder what the panel thinks about the economic class divisions in American soccer. For example, he says, it's super expensive for a kid to attend to a FCB camp or for any camp or club team. Maybe Xavi or Callaghan can talk about that as a reference in FCB camps.
Yes, yes, probably he's right in that sense, but at the end it's a market, you know, and if you want to be part of the market, you have to compete, and it's important to understand that we are providing a service, and then you need to hire coaches. If you want to provide an education, a soccer education, according to the level of FC Barcelona, you need coaches. We are bringing coaches from Spain to the US. They have to live there. We have to pay the expenses. So it's a matter of being in the market and to give a proper service to the players. And they are asking, and this is the culture in the US. It's very different, the sports organization in the US and in Spain, for example. So we try to adjust as much as we can, but it's you know, you cannot open it for everybody because it's impossible. It's not affordable for the club. So there's a threshold where you have to put the limit, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be popular, but of course we cannot be for free.
Well, I mean, you know, I know this is a discussion, but I think that I somewhat disagree with that. I think that I mean, I coach for one of the most, I would say probably one of the richest clubs in the United States, a small club right here in Beverly Hills. And we make sure that we have scholarship programs, that we have fundraisers so we can bring players in that can't afford the club. We make sure we do grassroots and reach out, and whether it's the coaches that go do clinics, or you know, I'll do sessions, I'll do goalkeeper sessions, and I don't charge players and everything. So I think that yes, we do. Yes, as coaches for clubs here, yeah, you have to make a living, you have to be paid. But on the flip side of that, there's ways to make it more inclusive. And so to say, no, unless you're paying, you're not playing for my club, I think is ridiculous. And so we've found ways here for LA Bulls to include who we can that can afford it, and to have that outreach. And I think it's our responsibility to do that across the board, across the world. And, you know, it shouldn't just be accessible for the middle class or well-to-do. We should find ways to give back. And so I'm not saying FC Barcelona doesn't do that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you know, it's something that we feel very strongly about with my club, and I feel very strongly about. And I know that the U.S. Soccer Foundation is 100% about grassroots and reaching out and like creating fields and playing areas for you know, underprivileged, and that's part of our goal across the board. It should be all of our goals.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify for your clarification, we have scholarships for players, so we have all kind of people working for us. And last but not least, you know, when you are renting a field, you know, it's quite expensive in the US to have it. So go to New York and try to get a field, and you will see how expensive it is. Even
No, trust me, go to Beverly Hills and try to get one.
It's a combination of expenses, so it's not so easy. So we try to manage it, but of course, it's not so easy. It's not so cheap as we would like it, but it is what it is. And what we cannot do is to lose money, because we are not an NGO organization.
Yeah, you both hit on a very important point, though. I think economics are a big factor, right? You know, that and that's one of the questions I think that all sports have to answer is how do you increase access and opportunity? So at the foundation, that's our main goal, and we support free programming for kids who could not otherwise afford to participate, because just as was shared, that there's a business model that requires fees and registration, et cetera. But we have committed to raising resources, raising funds to ensure that all children have access and opportunity to participate and to play, because otherwise nothing changes, right? otherwise we're just stuck, right? And so yes, somebody has to pay, right? That's true. The ball, that stuff doesn't come free, but we've made a commitment at our organization to raise the funds and to make opportunities available for a large number of children who come from 92% of the kids that we serve are on free and reduced school lunch, which is an indicator of poverty in the United States. Mm-hmm. We've been able to engage about 250,000 kids through our programming, which is free. And yeah, it's not easy, and every model can't work that way, but some commitment to opening that door for as many kids or young people as possible seems essential.
Mm-hmm. There's another question now from Josep from Barcelona, who is asking, what do you think it will take to overcome racism in our societies? Only political will? Maybe Carolina, who has an experience from an amateur club that's not political, I understand, can also answer to this question.
I think, as I was saying in my speech, no matter how big you are or how small you are, you can always take a part. It's not a matter of, politicians. Of course, politicians, they have to set an example, but it's on our, on our children. I have 2 children, and I know from the very beginning they are like virgin in everybody is equal for them. And we have to keep on working on education. I think it's the key, at the schools, letting them know that we are all equal. And for example, sport is is helping a lot, so that kids know that, everybody is equal. Especially also, I would like to say that we have a lot to do in gender equality, also in sports. And there's a long way to go, I think. And not only in sport, in other fields. I mean, wage differences. It's a lot to do, but I think that education is the key. The younger kids understand that we are all equal. I mean, they are going to be the future. They are going to be running our countries in the future. So it's super important to work from the base at schools and also within the family.
Absolutely.
For me, it's a key to change the society.
No, okay, absolutely. You're not born racist. You're taught racism. Period. You're not. That's the bottom line. And so, if you can teach racism, we can teach not to be racist.
Exactly.
Can I just add on that? I think that part of it is also getting comfortable talking about uncomfortable things, right? Because the reason because it's uncomfortable. People they're afraid of saying the wrong thing. They don't want to be ostracized. So getting comfortable with talking about uncomfortable things is how things will change, right?
It's really the point. It's very important.
Yeah, try to explain racism to a kid, and you'll see, how difficult it is, and also they don't understand. They don't understand anything. I try to teach my 8-year-old kid, and he doesn't understand. But why people act like this? So we have to take advantage of that innocence, and try to bring it to action.
Mm-hmm.
There's a question about Richter that asks, how does the Black Lives Matter movement influence sport? The Black Lives Matter movement, how does it influence sports? I don't know, Yvette or Saskia or Mary.
Well, I think, you know, I think as it was said before by Charlie and stuff, you know, athletes have a voice where, you know, you're role models. And to, you know, there's power in numbers and groups. And you brought up LeBron James and stuff, and there was a comment that somebody made on Facebook, you know, oh, you know, I think LeBron had come out and said something about the Black Lives Movement, singular himself. And somebody had made a comment like, oh, athletes should just shut up and play. Like trying to like what, first of all, before I'm anything, I'm a human being. And before I'm anything, I'm an educated woman. And I have the right to speak about whatever. And to tell athletes to shut up and play is just a ridiculous, racist statement in itself. But to see power in it, there is power in it. There's power in the movement, and to make people understand. And it's a protest that is nobody supports looting here in America, everybody. Nobody supports lighting things on fire. I'm sorry, I don't. But to see the athletes get together and, in a sense, do peaceful protests and really bring power to the movement and what's going on, it's speaking volumes here. Because this started off, even in the simplest terms, it started off with Colin Kaepernick 4 years ago taking a knee. And now I turn on, you know, the EPL to watch a game, and before the game, everybody's taking a knee. And so to see how one person, one athlete can risk everything, and 4 years later, look at how it's affecting the world, and look at the attention it's brought. One athlete, you know? And so, I mean, it speaks volumes. And so with athletes around the world keep speaking out, it will create change.
That point, the last question of today, and I would like that any one of you could answer, comes from Thomas from Catalonia, and say, I would like that the panelists told me, what can we do individually to help?
Educate, speak out. It was, you know, just to hear Carolina talk about a child not understanding racism when you tried to explain it to them. Well, don't be naive and not try to, you know, talk to them about people of different backgrounds and different colors. The earlier we can, whether it's reading books, I have 4-year-old twin boys, and I have so much joy reading them, you know, different stories about, and it doesn't have to be about people. It can be about animals, different looking animals, different looking, you know, shapes and colors, that we're all together, and you're not judged on what you look like or what your color. It's all about your character and what you believe in and how you know, treat people. And so I think the earlier that we you know, bring that up attention to our children, the more we when you hear something racist or discriminatory, we condemn it. We tell them that's not accepted. That's not allowed in my presence. You shouldn't be talking like that. Absolutely. And you're a role model. So kids around you, when they see you telling other people that you shouldn't be speaking like that or talking like that, well, that's just going to spread. It's that influence that you have. So, you know, some people say, as long as I'm not racist, it doesn't matter. I don't care what goes around me. Well, now that's not good enough. Now you need to, if you hear it or see it, you stop it. You tell them that's not acceptable. That's not allowed. And if we can do that as one, everyone working together, it's going to eventually die out, because we're going to have everyone come together and be strong in what's right and treating people, you know, with dignity. So I think it's all about education and really just being aware of what's okay to say and what's not okay to say, and what's okay to believe and what's not okay to believe. So that's all I have to say.
Absolutely. And don't assume that your children are just going to figure it out. Like, you know, because if you're not talking about it, if you're not explaining it, they're going to hear something from somebody else, and maybe it's going to be the wrong information. And so you have to have that open dialogue. You have to have that communication about what is right and what is wrong. Because if you don't say anything and you just assume that our children are going to get it, you know, they're going to find information from other people, and you want to make sure it's the right information.
Talking about that with anyone and everywhere. And last question for Xavi O'Callaghan, because it's a direct question, and says, what activities does the FC Barcelona Foundation have in the US, and how can Peñas collaborate with those activities? Maybe you can explain what Peñas are and how can they collaborate to the activities.
Yes. The Peñas are the fan bases. So the people who love Barcelona, they gather together to watch the games, and they usually try to do things together with the club. You know, in Catalonia, it's quite usual. You know, they organize events to raise money for the club or for the foundation. So it's you know, the connection between the fans and the club is so strong and so close that it's very, very, very natural, this collaboration. In the US, it's a little bit different because the foundation is only acting in New York right now. So we only have a good relation with a very close relation with the Peña, with the fan base in New York, and we try to do things together. So we are sharing an event with them, and if somebody wants to do something with the fan base, they can contact they have a web page and they are very active, so you can contact to the Peña in New York, and it's going to be very good. They have a lot of people, and from time to time we do things together. So it's only in the US right now. We only can do that because the foundation is only acting in New York.
Another question, Mike asks if it could be possible that RIBALTA, the example of RIBALTA, could inspire also other soccer clubs in the United States. I don't know if the people from States think that it could be an example and could follow this example, as Mike says. Charlie, right, Saskia?
I have to say that RIBALTA also has become an NGO now. So we are the first club.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you think
I think if we could do it, I think anyone can do it. I mean, it's a matter of willingness to do so.
Do you imagine it, for example, in the States, NGO being the clubs becoming also non-governmental organizations?
Can you say that question again for me?
Yeah. Mike asks if RIBALTA Club Experience becoming an NGO organization can also be extended to the States, to soccer clubs in the States.
Yeah, so in the States, most of the clubs, youth clubs in particular, are nonprofit organizations, which are the equivalent. And so they are working in a different way than a commercial enterprise, largely. And so it is interesting that that's the way it's structured here. In the United States, the government we don't have a Ministry of Sport. In the United States, you know, sport is handled at a very grassroots and localized level. But largely, most of the organizations that the foundation works with are grassroots nonprofit organizations that are based in the community and are looking to bring value to the community through sport, but also through the things that sport also brings, like improved health, connection, mentorship, you know, life skills development, all those things that will carry forward. So I think it is applicable in different kinds of organizational structures engaging in sport in communities here.
So thank you very much. There are more questions, but I think we finished the time to this virtual meeting and this virtual discussion and debate. I've heard and we've heard a lot of emotive words. I take some as we do it together with hope, and we have to move forward to have the opportunity to finish and all the discrimination, and the sports can be really powerful to get that. So thank you very much to the panelists. Sorry for the technical problems that we have had, but in the virtual debates, it can happen. But thank you very much for being here and for explaining your experience and sharing your experience, your powerful experience to all our audience. And I would give the word now to Isidre Sala just to finish this meeting and give our latest words.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
very
much.
So much.
So thank you also to everyone to be here today and to make it possible. It has been an amazing discussion. It's clear. And well, we have learned that we are already on the move. So we learned that we have to speak up. It's time for action, and we have power. I'll explain it very well. We have power. So we will continue committed. We will continue following the events. We will continue being active whenever necessary, whenever possible, and whatever is necessary. So here we are, and thank again to all the panelists, especially to the U.S. Soccer Foundation for an amazing commitment and the facilities they have made to organize this event, and of course to the amazing panelists that we have. Well, I think it's not easy to have some panelists like the ones we have today here. So we are really happy, really pleased, and really grateful. So we'll be in touch for future initiatives to fight for the same goal. Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening already in Catalonia, and see you next time.